Hi, everyone. Welcome back to It's All Light. I'm your host, Natalie Baugh, and I'm so excited. Today we have a guest, and it's someone who I haven't known for many years, but someone who I just think is a cool person, and I'm excited to pick their brain on some things, but none other than Ethan Erickson.
How's it going?
So Ethan and I think we're in the same ward, and we met like in the fall and maybe talked once and then talked again like in April when I'm now in Sunday school and he's in Sunday school presidency. And we just kind of started talking, and I was like, wow, you're so profound. Do you want to be on my podcast? And luckily he said yes. So, Ethan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, yeah. Ethan Erickson. Going to graduate school right now for my master's.
What in?
Second language teaching.
Cool.
So just learning how to teach people a second language.
And any
Uh,
type of second language, not a specific language, right?
Not a specific language, no. My
Wow.
target language is Japanese. That's where I serve my mission.
Cool. And the Kobe mission, right?
In the Kobe mission, yeah.
Cool.
And then played football at the Air Force Academy. And
Well, I didn't know that. I saw you holding a football just a second ago, so I'm like, I didn't know that. That's so cool.
yeah, but originally from Utah, South Jordan. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is.
What high school? South Jordan, Riverton? No.
Bingham.
Bingham. Ah, my
Hmm.
rival. I went to Alta.
Oh, okay.
But I think I'm older than you. How old are you?
I'm 25.
Okay, so you were just a year behind me. Cool. Okay, so you play football for the Air Force. That's so cool. How long has that
Yeah.
been a thing?
Well, so I don't play football anymore. I just played
Oh.
football while I went to school there.
Oh, okay, so you went to the
Uh,
Air Force Academy.
yeah, and I played football there for 4 years, and
Wow.
yeah,
So is the Air Force Academy like a college and like you got your bachelor's degree?
yeah, no, exactly. It's
Oh.
like West Point or Annapolis for Navy,
Whoa.
but
Wait,
it's just
I feel like I should have known this. Okay, keep going.
no, you're good. You're good. It's uh, it's in Colorado Springs, 4 years. Did my
Wow.
undergrad there and everything, and so yeah,
How do you like Colorado?
it's cool. I mean, the weather's pretty sporadic. I mean,
Hmm. More than
you'll get
Utah?
snow. No, like it'll be winter. Winter's pretty crazy because like it'll be 5 degrees and like a blizzard, and then 2 days later it'll be 70 degrees and sunny,
I
and then
have
back.
heard that about Colorado, actually. I've been to Denver a few times, and yeah, it's totally that way. Okay, sorry, keep
Yeah.
interrupting you.
And so like it. I mean, there's pros and cons to that. The snow doesn't stick around and get all gray and gross like it does in Utah, but the winter does last longer because of like the cyclical nature of everything.
And it's higher elevation too, I think.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. So, what brought you back to Utah?
Um, I got sponsored by the Japanese department to get my master's
Cool.
um, department at the academy. So my first assignment was to go get my graduate degree, and so I figured I'll come home, be close to family for a little bit
Yeah.
before dive headfirst into the whole military thing.
That's so cool. Every time you say the Academy, I think of a Psych episode. Are you familiar with that TV show at all?
Nah, no.
Oh, it's just a funny show, and there's an episode where they go to the police academy, and it's called the Academy. Anyways, just a cool phrase I like. So that's super cool. What got you interested in the Air Force?
Um, honestly, I really wasn't.
Hmm.
I didn't think about it at all till they offered me a football scholarship, and then took a visit out there. My parents were like, "Hey, like this will set you up for life. Like you don't understand like how good like the deal is here
Hmm.
and
I
everything."
mean,
So
because you're like a senior in high school, probably,
yeah, I
right?
mean,
When you got that,
yeah. And so like they're talking about like how like you have a guaranteed job when you graduate and all sorts of benefits and everything.
it's cool. I mean, yeah,
And
when we're 18, it's hard to, like, I think back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've come a long way in the past 10 years.
exactly. So like, my parents kind of talked me into committing and going there.
But you're so grateful you did.
Oh, for sure. For
Cool.
sure. Definitely, it's tough to look around right now in my life and be upset about
Yeah,
be upset about where I am. So,
that's so cool. What are just some either fun things you learned or did in your time there? Just to give us a glimpse of what it was like.
ooh,
And
fun.
position you play in football.
So I played safety.
Cool.
Um,
I don't know what that means, actually. I
It's
don't
okay. Most
know.
people,
I don't know football at all. It's so sad.
most of the time when people ask me what position it is, they wouldn't know unless I said like quarterback, running back, receiver, maybe. But so
Linebacker.
I'm the very back of the defense.
Okay.
Um,
Safety.
like you know how the quarterback throws the ball to
Hmm.
people who try to catch it. I'm the person who comes in and tries to like knock the ball down.
Oh. Hmm.
If that makes sense. Yeah. So I'm on defense, but fun things at the academy. That's interesting. There's not really most people don't describe the academy as fun, but
Okay. Good to know.
I uh I flew gliders. There was a summer program where you get to learn how to fly.
And that's where
Uh,
an airplane, like, is connected to a glider plane, flies you up, and you just control the
then you release
plane
the
down
yeah, you release the rope that's like towing you, and then you glide down.
because it has no engine, no propeller. It's just a
No
gliding plane.
propeller, no
Yeah.
parachute. No.
Yeah. I've seen gliders. I've never been in one, but yeah, that is so cool.
I know it's fun. It's that was pretty cool to do.
And you have
Um,
to do all like the drills and camp and stuff like that, or no, like training
yeah, so
stuff.
you show up your very first day as the start of basic training. Basic training is like six weeks, and it's like the movies. You know, you shave your head, you learn to march, make your bed a certain way, the whole deal.
That
Uh,
actually sounds intriguing. Like, I think I could like it, but I also would probably die the second day.
I don't. Yeah, see, that's it. I mean, it's not fun for sure, but like you get told what to do all day, every day, so like it's very mindless work.
And routine.
Yeah, you just do a lot of push-ups, a lot of running.
Hmm.
You try not to question the meaningless activities you're doing.
Huh. How do
Uh,
you feel like it built your character, if it did? I'm pretty sure it did, but
definitely you learn a lot of patience.
hmm.
A lot of patience. I spent a lot of those 6 weeks just standing in a hallway, studying from a book with my arm held at like a 90-degree angle, because that's how you had to do it. And
Whoa.
so like, you learn like how to get through hard stuff too,
Huh.
without like complaining too much. So
Wow. Did
for
you
sure, I say patience and like just the ability to
wow.
go through hard stuff for sure.
Wow. And did you meet some like good friends? What's like the social scene in the academy? And do you get to ever leave? Like, you do basic training for 6 weeks, and then school,
Hmm.
you live on a base.
You do, yeah. It's like 20 minutes outside of Colorado Springs.
Okay. And that's
Uh,
where you are, and you can leave it though when you need to, right? You don't have to always be
Depending
there.
on which year you are in the academy, yeah.
Whoa.
Freshman year, you don't get to leave very much. Sophomore year, it's a little bit more. Junior year, you can get a car,
Wow.
so you can leave more, and then senior year, you have the most freedom.
Wow.
But
I remember I
yeah,
saw some.
made a lot of friends. When you go through hard things together, that tends to create some pretty lasting relationships. So
So could you ever go work at the Hill, what is it
Hill Air
called?
Force Base.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, no, technically, like
because all
it's
the
a
air forces are connected, like versus the
yeah,
academy to other air force entities, if you
yeah.
call
So
them
actually,
that.
I've got some friends right now who their first assignments at Hill.
Okay, cool.
So yeah.
Um, One of the guys that I met running my ultra marathon, he was the one I started my race out with and helped me the first quarter. I think he's an engineer at the Hill Air Force Base. And
Okay.
it was so cool. I mean, we're running for hours, so it was cool to just ask him about the Air Force a little bit, and he's into like Ironmans and stuff. So, besides football, do you feel like the Air Force spurred you in any other hobbies or direction? I mean, obviously with this language thing for sure, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, my undergraduate degree was in operations research,
Okay.
which is just it's like using data to inform management decisions,
Hmm.
essentially. It's similar to data analytics, but it's not quite synonymous. But I would not have done that degree. I was like exposed to it and everything at the academy.
Right.
Met a good friend there who that's what he was doing. He was a senior when I was a freshman.
Okay.
Really sold me on it, and so then that's what my career field in the Air Force is going to be in
Hmm.
is research. And so yeah,
And
definitely my life would have been different if I went to a different different undergrad.
College, yeah. So do you give them a certain amount of years, like 4 years after your master's program,
Yeah, so I think it's like 4 or 5. I'm
that
not
you
too.
dedicate to whatever they assign you to?
Yeah, just work. It's basically a typical 9 to 5. You just wear a uniform and, you know, work on a base. That's pretty much the only difference. But
That's awesome. What color is your uniform? What does it? I don't even know. I should know
it's
these
the it's the
things.
it's the it's the classic
Brown, khaki? Oh, camo.
brown, khaki, green. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's like the typical uniform you wear.
And navy is blue.
Navy, I think so.
I
I'm not
remember
sure.
I took a living prophets class in Institute forever ago, and it was about President Monson at the time. And it was my favorite story. It was when, like, I think World War II was happening. He was drafted, President Monson, and he was talking to his wife, like, oh, which entity of the army or Okay, so army is like the word for it all, right? Or
No,
military.
so military is the
Military. Okay,
yeah.
so he was asking her what part of the military he should join, and she goes, "Which one has the blue suit? You look best in blue." And so he joined the Navy.
There we go.
Isn't that awesome? Oh man, I love President Monson. There's also a talk called Principles from Prophets. It was a BYU speech, probably my favorite talk ever. And President Monson shares the funniest stories. And one of them he ends with, I would have called that person something else. But then again, President Kimball wasn't in the Navy like I was. And I died. I loved it. So you'll have to listen to that talk because he brings up the Navy just a little bit, or the military a little bit. So how cool. Any other like interesting things before we dive into more of what my podcast is about? Sorry, I'm just so intrigued by just the Air
No,
Force.
you're good. You're good. Not that I can think of. I mean, to me, it's all pretty normal,
Yeah,
commonplace
that's
stuff.
your
So
life
like,
now.
yeah.
Cool. That's so cool. Can I come get a tour at any Air Force base? Like if I go to Hill Force?
Have you never been on a
I
base?
don't think maybe when I was little, but I'm like, I just should just roll up to Hill Air Force Base and say, can I come get a tour?
I
I don't
know
know if that's allowed.
they do stuff like that though, where like they show off the planes and stuff at Hill.
Cool.
They might do stuff for like the 24th of July. I'm not sure.
Ooh, Pioneer Day.
Yeah.
Okay, that's coming up.
I know they did stuff for the 4th, but
Cool.
yeah, typically you can. Um, but it's pretty anticlimactic in my opinion. It's just like a regular place. There's just
I mean, that's
buildings.
just,
It's just
yeah.
surrounded by a gate and a fence.
So, do you think you'd go back to Colorado Springs, or you said like they'll place you somewhere in a job?
So after I graduate, they're gonna assign me to a place to go work for
And
like
that could
3 years.
be anywhere in the world, technically, right?
Technically, yeah.
Wow.
Realistically, it's probably gonna be stateside.
Okay. And
But
how long
then
is your
after,
master's? Sorry.
so I graduated in December.
Oh, so it's almost done. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and what were you gonna say? Sorry.
And then I'm gonna go back to Colorado Springs in like 3 4 years to be a Japanese teacher.
Oh, for other,
That's why the department's sponsoring me
well,
is
because you'll work
they
for them.
have yeah, they have people who have been in the operational Air Force for about 4-ish years come and be a not part-time, but you don't have tenure essentially. You're just there on like a 3 year basis to teach to provide the cadets like some insight and some experience.
Cadets. I wanted to call them recruits, but they're cadets. I got it. I
Yeah,
got it now.
you're a cadet at the Air Force.
Cool. My cousin served in Japan, and I also dated a guy who served in Japan. So I just think Japan is so cool, and so I've like tried to learn a few phrases in Japanese. I
Okay,
used to be able to count to 10. I know how to say "watashi wa Natalie desu." That's about it.
there you go. Yeah,
And is hajime mashite? Is that Japanese?
Mashite, yeah.
Okay, because I'm like sometimes I mix it up with a Korean phrase. My goal is to like count to 10 in 10 languages.
There you go.
And I think I'm halfway there if I can remember Japanese. We'll do this off the podcast because this is kind of boring for other people. But let's now quickly dive into just what do you light up about, Ethan?
What do I light up about? I don't probably just like making meaningful connections,
Okay.
honestly. You know, that's probably like number one. But I really enjoy movies.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoy movies.
Okay, top 5 movies if you have them on
That's
your
that's
head.
tough. That's tough.
I know.
Like what type of mood is it?
Uh,
What type of setting?
any and all. I don't know. Sorry. I feel like
No, you're
I love
good.
movies too. So I usually try to like have my top five.
Uh-huh.
And I think I can list, yeah, Pride and Prejudice, About Time, probably Emperor's New Groove. I don't know, Milan. Just
Emperor's
some
New Groove is
classic.
solid though. That's it. People sleep on Emperor's New Groove. That's a great movie.
There's, yeah, okay. But maybe just one that comes to your mind.
I mean, I really enjoy Christopher Nolan's movies.
Those are
Um,
Batman, right?
like, well, he has the Batman movies, but then he also did
Inception?
Interstellar, Inception,
Okay, I've never seen
uh,
Inception, and I need to.
and then he has a new one coming out called Oppenheimer. Or
Oh, oh, I saw the trailer, I think.
Yeah, it's about the Manhattan Project and everything like
Okay,
that.
so you like generally maybe deeper, make you think type of movies.
Yeah, I mean, I like funny movies as well, but typically, yeah, I like the
Yeah.
more. They don't have to be like deeper, but more like emotionally charged movies.
Interstellar was way cool. I liked that
Yeah.
movie a lot. Did you like The Martian?
Oh, I really like The Martian. I love Matt Damon.
That one was cool too. Yeah, I love Matt Damon too. My love for him started with the movie Spirit.
There we go. Have you seen Good Luck Goodwill Hunting?
No, but I feel
Probably
like my
not.
dad's talked about it actually. Or
So
it's
that's
Matt Damon, right?
yeah. So Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. That's kind of what put them on the scene. They wrote that together,
Really?
but there were two young kids from Boston, and so there's the F word like
Hmm.
every other word. But it's a great movie. It's
Okay.
Robin Williams in it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I
no,
think I've
it's
seen
fantastic.
clips of it somewhere on like social media. Like I know I've seen those three faces together.
Yeah,
I just finished Ted Lasso, so luckily like the F
there you
word
go.
hasn't faced me as much. I kind of find it funny in the English culture, but yeah, if I need, I'll get VidAngel or something.
Yeah,
But
no, Roy Ken, he'll definitely make sure you're familiar with
oh
the F.
my
That's
gosh,
for sure.
I
Yeah.
think Roy Kent's probably my favorite character. If anyone watches
I,
Ted Lasso, I loved it.
yeah, no, I still need to watch the newest season,
Mm,
but
I just
I really
finished.
the Lasso.
So good. It's so funny because yeah, there's some F words here and there. Well, maybe every other sentence, but it's like you leave feeling uplifted. Like it's a good moral show. And there's definitely episodes that are worldly and not as good, but generally it's a very cool uplifting show. So did you just grow up watching movies you like? I don't know.
Yes and no. Like, so my dad was a high school football coach,
Okay.
and so every Friday night, like he's gone, my mom had a bunch of little kids to take care of,
Hmm.
and so they just made it so like Friday night was movie
Movie
night.
night.
Have pizza. It's easy, keep the kids entertained.
I love
It's
that.
like yes, but like it wasn't ever like, hey, like we're gonna go to the movie theater together. Like I love going to $5 Tuesdays.
Oh yeah.
I'll go through like phases where I go like every week for like two,
Whoa.
3 months. Then I'm like, oh, I gotta chill out a little bit. But
That's fun. I still need to see Indiana Jones. I'm stoked for Barbie movie. I think it'll be a good movie actually.
that's what it looks. I mean, it has Ryan Gosling and
Yeah.
oh
Margot
man,
Robbie.
yeah, there we go, Margot
She's
Robbie. Yeah,
so cool. Yeah. I love movies too. So sorry, I'm getting so excited because I could talk about movies all day. And
good.
for better or for worse, I love movies. And yeah, it's just fun. I also, you mentioned you love reading too. Do you read a lot?
I do. I'm trying to read a book a week this year.
Book a week? Wow.
Yeah,
Last year I set a goal to read a book a month. I think I made it to like two. It was
there
so,
we go.
so depressing. So I didn't set that goal this year, but it's always in the back of my mind. And I can listen to an audiobook pretty fast. I just finished Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets in like
There
three
we go.
days.
Is this your first time through the Harry Potter books?
No, this is my third. I
Okay.
love it so much. Anyways, so yeah, books and movies. I don't know. It's fun to have something to connect with people with. Like you said, like meaningful relationships. Like it might sound surface level, but like my very best friend in my life, like we bonded over Pride and Prejudice and Harry Potter and books and movies, and we have like such a deep friendship, but like we love that we have those passions and connections together. So it's like, yeah, it's surface level, but it also is connecting. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think you're able to definitely connect with somebody on a deeper level when you have shared interests. but also I really enjoy like the storytelling aspect of like books and movies. Um,
Totally.
the ability to like just describe a situation, to describe what people are going through, as well as you can learn a lot from different people's perspectives, not just like the characters, how the director, the author portrayed something, how someone else interprets it. I think there's a lot that you can
Totally.
be learned from storytelling just in general.
Interpretation is super interesting because everyone sees things differently. Okay, I have two thoughts. I'm sorry, I'm like jumping over you. I want to hear from you, but one thought was, okay, I can't remember the first thought, but the second thought was I haven't seen the Story of Freedom movie yet. Have you seen that one?
Okay.
The one everyone's
I
talking about?
haven't. I've heard various things about it.
Yeah. For the first while, I heard, man, it's amazing. Everyone go see it. Everyone go see it. And I do want to see it. But last night, man, social media has changed our world because on social media, I was reading a post about how that organization isn't maybe the like, yes, they're doing great things for a great cause, but maybe they're not doing it in the best way or portraying all the aspects or like following through with the care people need after, or they're portraying it in a hero situation when it's bigger than that, you know? So I have that new perspective on it now where I do support them, but there's other organizations for a bigger picture in supporting this cause. So I
Hmm.
just now I feel like I'm going to go into the movie with that perspective, and then we have to discern for ourselves like how to take it. What do you think?
Yeah, so I've been to I've seen like a Operation Underground Railroad demonstration, like where Tim Ballard, I'm pretty sure that's the name of the owner of the
Mm-hmm.
C. He came out and did a presentation at the Academy one year. So I watched a
Mm.
movie that like they had produced and made, and listened to him speak and everything. And it's very moving. It's very powerful. You see a lot of people in this situation, but
Mm-hmm.
it, you do homework and everything, and you research what it is that's going on. And like, yeah, I don't know if having Americans just go overseas and do armed raids, if that's necessarily the best way.
Yeah.
And so but I think like there's no reason to be so vitriolic about it,
What does vitriolic mean?
so like angry, so
Oh,
like
okay.
contentious, uh, confrontational about like the negatives surrounding it, as well as like I just think there needs to be an open dialogue on both sides for people, because I've
Yeah,
seen
because they're still
like,
doing good things. They're helping kids for sure.
yeah, I think you can go watch the movie, become educated about it, but I think it's important to draw a line and not to start to deify certain
Mm-hmm.
organizations or certain people, to not
Yeah.
just say, oh, like these are the experts. I think you still need to go out. You got to learn for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I acknowledge that there's good to every bad thing and bad to good things. And so,
Mm. I like that perspective, especially like if you're into movies and stuff. Sometimes my dad jokes like, Natalie, life's not a movie. Like you're expecting this fantasy because you watch too many movies. And I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe you're right. Like I do need to realize what reality is. But I love that you just have to keep in mind just all the perspectives of things. I like that.
yeah, I've seen, because I've got friends that have very differing opinions on the movie, and it's just like, look, like everybody, like sex trafficking. I think everybody can agree that that is a deplorable thing. Like nobody
Totally.
wants to have that. But and so there's no reason to like be arguing about that necessarily. Just, hey, let's get the information out there, and then be constructive and say, hey, like Operation Underground Railroad may not be the best way. Here's some alternatives.
Yeah.
Be more helpful, and as opposed to negative and
Yeah.
tear things.
And I feel like the post I was reading about it, it was a little like pointing out flaws of OUR, but it also said like from their experience as a therapist working with people who have come out of these situations, and then shared all these other national organizations that are a little more reputable, but still like you can still support OUR for good things. So I like that there can be two sides. So thank you for your
Yeah.
thoughts on that. My other thought I remembered was with books and storytelling, well, and with movies. Do you find yourself in what type of genre of books, or like self-help or more fantasy, or what type of books do you usually read?
Um, all over. I read autobiographies, self-help,
Hmm.
and historical fiction.
I love historical fiction. That's cool.
So it just depends. I read a lot of books that are recommended to me by friends and stuff
Hmm.
like that.
Do you have a Goodreads account?
I do
Oh,
actually,
you
yeah.
do? I love
I do.
Goodreads. I'm trying to be better and use it.
Yeah, no, so I try to keep that updated. I'm not too good at
Cool.
I was better at the beginning of the year at keeping that updated, but yeah, so it really doesn't matter the genre,
Mm.
as long as it's a good book.
Yeah, a good book. Yeah, my mom is super good with her Goodreads. She always leaves reviews, and then in the books that she owns, she usually writes her review in the front cover. So if she ever gives them to her kids to
Oh,
read,
I
like
love
we
that.
can know what my mom thought of it. And yeah, it's really cool. My mom reads a lot, and that is just it's a goal of mine. And I'm in the middle of 5 books right now. And it takes me 5 years to get through them. But I think it's cool the more I'm trying to get into some more self-help books. I have like 5 of them. Like I still need to read Atomic Habits, but right now I'm trying to read Essentialism and Effortless. This is Greg McEwen's a friend of mine. But it's cool, or I'm reading a book for work about leadership and self-deception, or the 7 Habits book. Those are like the 5 I'm going through. And then
Mhm.
some other fun ones. Usually the fun ones I can finish in a week. But for the self-help books, I've started to shift my perspective on, okay, they do share stories. It's not just do this and better your life. It shows a story of an example of a person going through an experience that you can learn from. And like I even have a book on dating, and it's so helpful when they share experiences like that, because it is still all storytelling, even if it is self-help. So it's kind of broken down the scary self-help barrier of me for to reading those books and seeing it as a story.
Did you have like this perception of self-help books before you started reading them?
Yeah, I think part of me was like, I just can't get into them. I never like they're not engaging enough, but I don't think I had ever really tried.
Yeah.
And I feel like part of me somewhere in the back of my head is like pride, like I don't need that, which is awful because I totally do. I need every help I can get. But yeah, those are my thoughts on books. But what do you think?
Yeah, I was similar, when it came to like self-help books, I thought it was just a lot of lists, like a laundry list of ways to get better. Same thing with like autobiographies. I thought it was like a history textbook, technically, more or less, just
Mm-hmm.
very dry and dull. But the more like you read books across different genres, at least for me, you notice common threads,
Mm.
how information's presented, of how,
A good author.
yeah, how a good author engages the audience,
Yeah.
helps them assimilate the information and understand it and
Mm.
everything like that. And then as well, you start to read a lot of different books and you start to realize, oh, like there's an area that I need to work on, like this person or this character or this situation. I don't know how I would have done it, so maybe I need to start working on this a little bit
Mm.
better to
Hmm.
be more like them.
I like that. Or to not be like certain characters.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, no, I've read one book. It was about Theranos. It was like a blood testing company. I'm forgetting the name of the CEO, but she's um being sued for hundreds of millions of dollars for fraud and everything.
Is it the one they made a series about?
Yeah.
Yeah, with
Like
Amanda
a
Seyfried?
series. Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whoa, yeah, I haven't looked into that at all, but crazy.
Yeah, no, so that I read that book. I mean, that book was jaw dropping of,
Was it an auto what would you call
no,
it?
it was so the Wall Street Journal reporter who broke um the story about how like this company was basically fake
Wow.
wrote a book based off of all the interviews and documents and everything.
Wow.
And I felt it was very objective. It tried to show just simply what was happening. There wasn't a lot of like, you know,
Sides.
yeah, there wasn't a lot of like personal attacks or anything. From the author's point of view, it shared people from both sides who, hey, I like this person, I don't like this person. So you get like the full picture.
Yeah.
But reading throughout that, not just from the CEO and mistakes that she made, but also like the people along the way, how they responded. It's like, dang, like I could totally see how a situation can turn south pretty quick if you don't have somebody that steps up and does certain
Wow.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, I like the perspective you're sharing on it, cuz sometimes I don't know, bash myself for like, oh, you're watching too many movies or too many like shows, and I'm trying to read more. But even reading too, like I realized like listening to Harry Potter, like I listened to it all day, as I was like getting things done. But I'm like, wow, like it's kind of like a movie where it's like you just get hooked and you listen to it, even though it's a book, but it's like your perspective on how you're applying it to your life or letting it affect you is what matters. Like me not thinking my life's Pride and Prejudice. I don't know. Like you have to separate things and not be in the fantasy all the time. But it is fun. Just I think even with music, you can get giddy and have feelings from media.
For sure. For sure. It's definitely important to disassociate it at, at least a fundamental level and realize, hey, that this is maybe not my real life.
Yeah.
So take things, glean from them, but, end of the day, still be in the real world.
Well, yeah, and like you said, just your perspective on things and learning from people's experiences, whether they are fictional or not. I don't know. It's kind of cool to just make sure to you keep that perspective. Okay, I'm gonna transition unless you have any more thoughts about this.
No, let's transition for it.
So you've been playing football your whole life. I had a whole episode with my friend Moose Bingham about football on the podcast, and there were so many life lessons that I was like, whoa, I had no idea football was like that, because I grew up with sisters and a little brother, and football, I mean, turkey bowl on Thanksgiving's my football extent. And my mom loves football, but I don't as much. But
That's okay.
tell me some life lessons and things you've learned from a life of growing up with football.
Some life lessons from football. Jeez.
And why you love it, if you love it.
If I love it. I still love football. It's different. My relationship with football changed throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
As a little kid, it's just something fun. Then I wanted to use it to pay for college. You get to college and it turns kind of like into a job with how long you're there.
Well, all the practices and dedication to it, yeah.
Yeah, because you get down to the facility around 12:30, 1 o'clock. You don't leave till like 7:38 on top of school and everything. But so life lessons, one of the big ones is that, not to let other people's opinions or, perceptions of you dictate who you are and what you can do. If you put the work in, if you believe in yourself, you can accomplish your goals and your dreams. You don't need outside validation to accomplish what you need to accomplish.
I like that because sometimes I'm all about validation and I feel like I crave validation, but I've been pushing myself to do hard things kind of on my own just to build my mental capacity. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, no, so maybe another life lesson. Definitely how to work with people from, all sorts of different backgrounds. There's not a lot of people, not a lot of white kids at my position in football. And so you learn how to, there's a lot to be learned from people with other backgrounds, other parts of the country. It's just something where it's like, yeah, there's not necessarily one right way to do this. This is how I grew up. This is what I believe,
Right.
values and everything like that. You can learn a lot from other people and other walks of life. If you just have the humility, to take a step back, listen with an open mind, actually get to know people. I learned a lot about leadership. My coaches were phenomenal and how they approach their jobs and everything. And you just see a lot of similarities across the board, no matter what profession it is. Dedication, the expertise in their crafts, the ability to distill information in a manner, all sorts of stuff like that. Their interpersonal skills, for sure, learned a lot about that.
How they dealt with maybe troublesome things or encouraging or critical, constructive criticism.
Yeah, how they get both positive and negative lessons, Okay, like I liked how you did this, but I would have done this different.
Yeah.
All sorts of stuff like that. How they balanced egos, all sorts of stuff.
Speaking of ego, you mentioned just like being humble to learn lessons in experiences in life. What's the connection between humility and confidence to you?
The connection between humility and confidence. So I think you can be confident and humble at the same time. But humility is you don't feel a need to impress others
Mm.
or to show everybody what you got. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like it's okay if like nobody knows that you can do certain things
Mm.
because you're confident, like, hey, if the need arises, like I can still do it.
Mm.
Cockiness is where you gotta other people need to know about it. You need that external validation.
Mm-hmm.
Humility, for me at least, it comes from a lot of internal confidence and internal validation.
Mm.
Where it's like, hey, like I can watch somebody else go and succeed because I'm confident, I'm secure in things that I've done.
Mm.
I don't need your shine doesn't take away from my shine because I'm good. And
Ooh, I love that. I've always tried to like teach myself like true confidence is humility. It's not the need to talk about yourself, but it's knowing who you are. What helps you trust yourself and your abilities?
what do you mean by trust myself?
Like in making decisions, in like that secure feeling you were talking about, like if other people are succeeding, but you're confident that you can succeed in your own ways, like what helps you trust yourself in that?
I think like an understanding of like it's not the destination, it's the journey. Like
Yeah.
what will be. Like I'm a work as hard as I can. I'm gonna do everything. Whether it happens or not, that's out of my control.
Hmm.
You know. So like I guess, for example, like football, like whether I win or I lose as a
Mm-hmm.
team, so I can't be worried about that. I can only worry about my performance. Or if like you were to take it to dating or something, like, hey, like I did everything that I could. I planned to date or whatever. I tried to be nice. I was
Try to be
on
nice.
best behavior,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. And if it doesn't work out, it's like, okay, like, I gave it my best. And
Mm.
so I think it's understanding that a lot of the time outcomes aren't determined only by you and your
Mm-hmm.
action. And so if you just do your best, you can look back and not have any regrets.
Mm. I feel like I'm in a trust myself crisis, and it's kind of spurred from just me my whole life trying to figure out what is my best, what does my best look like. And my first experience was finishing a cross country race, and I was excited I finished, and my coach was like, you have so much energy left, like you could have gone faster. And I'm like, what? I could have gone faster, like I wasn't doing my best, but I didn't know it, so it's like I've always tried to ask myself, okay, what is my best, like running a race, like did I go my fastest, it's like how do you gauge that? What helps you be your best?
Well, I think it's just what you're describing, you thought you were at your best. When it would finish, you evaluated, you said, oh, I can go a little farther. I
Mm.
can go a little faster. And so next time you do, you go and you see, okay, is this my best?
Okay.
It's this
Hmm.
constant reevaluation, constant, looking for improvement, weaknesses in order to determine where your abilities really are.
Hmm.
You know, I think because like so, for example, in that situation, you did the best that you could with the information you had,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's no reason to feel bad about it because in that situation, you gave it your all. Don't judge a situation with the information you have now when you didn't have it then.
That's
That's
a
just
good point.
and so I think it's that like if you look back on a decision, be like, dang, like I should have known better. I should have done this, or like I shouldn't have talked to them. Well, you didn't know what you know now, but now that you do, don't go and make the same mistake. Let's improve. Let's get better.
And
You
that's
know.
where that change happens is built off of maybe not so great experiences, or yeah, just learning what you're capable of, huh?
Yeah, and I think that's where the confidence comes from. Is it's hey, no
Mm.
failure is finite,
Oh, yeah.
and no success is lasting. It's always you know you're always gonna have another day. If you have a great day on Monday, well, you got to wake up and you're gonna what are you gonna do on Tuesday? If you have a bad day on Tuesday, well, guess what? You still have Wednesday to try to improve, and it's this constant small and incremental improvements over time that get you to where you want. You
Yeah.
can't get too giddy about a great day if the next day you don't show back up to work.
Hmm.
Don't get too down about a bad day because guess what? You have another opportunity the very next day.
Yeah, and I would even say moment to moment, some days either start out bad and become amazing or vice versa,
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes it's hard if you do get into like a bad moment or a bad little rut or a bad day, so to speak. It's like, how do you deal with that? And I guess what do you learn from it too, right? And like for me, I find myself in maybe struggles or sticky situations because I like to be busy and I try to pile too much on my plate. And, 26, wait, how old am I? 27 years later, I still don't know how to not be busy. And it's caused strains on relationships and different things that I'm like, when will it finally kick in that I need to do something about it, And no
Mm-hmm.
matter how many times my mom and other people try to help me realize, slow down, like don't do as much. It's like, okay, when is it going to kick in for me to like enact change? What do you think helps get there?
Like what do I think helps people change?
Or like
Or
get to that point of change? Like I obviously know this is a struggle of mine being too busy. It's like, why haven't I been able to change it yet? Like it's still causing some struggles in my life. Or, I mean, I do, it's also hard because I do love doing so many things, but it's like, I haven't changed it so it doesn't, because it affects other relationships and things as well. Or just tiring myself out, or not prioritizing things I need to prioritize. I'm curious your thoughts because this is where I need help. Sorry,
no, you're
I'm
good.
making
You're
this
good. I'm
selfish
just
because
trying
I
to
want
think
to learn.
because like I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I don't
Hmm.
I don't think most things are good or bad. It's like what President Uthar, I mean now he's elder, but good, better, best. It's just like what do you
Hmm.
want? Are you gonna are relationships the most important? Work, employment, goals, personal success. What's most important? And
Hmm.
for me, it's important to not be ruled by emotion.
Hmm.
Like, I make decisions. One of my favorite athletes, that's what he talked about. He said, each has to take a step back and say, okay, why am I feeling this emotion? If
Hmm.
I'm nervous before a game, okay, what am I nervous about? And then I can unpack it from there. And pretty soon you realize that it's nothing more than your imagination.
Hmm.
Running its course, just working overdrive, picturing the
Huh.
worst scenario. And as you unpack it, you're like, hey, like I'm prepared. I'm good. And so I think if you operate out of a state of mind like that, you know, you clearly define what your priorities are and you do those things and you accept the consequences of those, then
Accept
there's
the
nothing to be
consequences.
to be upset about. Because I mean everything has, you choose to do some things, you choose not to do other things. You choose to prioritize work life and career. Yeah, relationships are going to suffer. You choose relationships, it's going to be harder to have career success. It's
Hmm.
just what do you want?
Yeah, and it's a balance. And I like to view kind of the 8 dimensions of wellness. My friend talked about this on the podcast months ago, but just like some areas, you're not going to have even areas across all those 8 dimensions all the time. Some areas will be lower at times or higher. Like finances might be lower for the first 5 years of life or of your career or something, but then other areas like learning and things, and then they balance and shift. So I love that perspective. I also loved, like, thank you for helping me in my life dilemma, but just
Not
just remembering, like you said, like what am I prioritizing, what's important to me. I had another thought and hopefully it'll come back to me because it was just cool to hear. I'm excited to listen to my own podcast and hear what you said again, just because I'm like, oh yeah, I need to remember to do those things and let that change happen, but not like, I feel like you talk about it so naturally, like instead of forcing yourself to change, like it's recognizing what you knew at the time and then building upon that. I just, that's cool.
well, I think a big part of that is like people need to take time to get to know themselves.
Mm.
I think people forget that you have a relationship with yourself, but too often, especially like where we live, in our demographic and everything, people keep themselves so busy with social media, relationships. Like you never have like a down moment, never have a quiet moment. But if you don't do that, you're not really comfortable with who you are and stuff. So it's tough to feel that stability, And so I think it's important as well, when you're going through stuff like that, to make sure that you learn who you are, and nobody else can really do that for you. It's a
Yeah.
long process, but yeah.
Hmm. I I love that, and I've been told this lots of times, and it's always good to remind myself, like I do love the older I've gotten, the more I'm like, wow, am I becoming a little bit more introverted? But just because I'm learning to enjoy time by myself and meditate and I mean, I've always loved like writing and journaling, but like sitting with myself, going. I mean, that's why I love running. I run by myself a lot of the times, and it's me. It's my thoughts. It slows me down. So that's a good reminder. That's like a good place to start. I think when you want to figure out change or where your priorities lie. It's just like you have to know yourself. Oh man, I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Do you feel like, I think in relationships, do you feel like you have to be pretty confident with who you are to be in to be in a healthy relationship?
Are you speaking like romantically,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
I think it helps, for
Or
sure.
do you think you can learn and help each other as well? I mean, because like it
Yeah.
is a lifelong process, but do you think there's like a point you need to get to?
Um, I think you should know what you want for sure. But like, I mean, relationship is give and take, right? You're working on, bettering yourself while in conjunction with this other person. And so
Mm.
I don't think I think it's great. I think there is probably like a bare minimum. I don't know what that would be. But, as long as you have two people working on it together, I think that, any relationship could work.
Mm. Yeah. Do you feel like, and then separate, just in relationships in general, do you feel like in your journey you've had help from others or you seek help from others
Oh,
or
for
do you,
sure.
okay. What does that look like to you?
For sure. I mean, at the very least, just, having other people as a sounding board,
Mm-hmm.
their perspective. I'll often, call people up and describe a situation that I'm not too sure about that happened, or thinking
Mm-hmm.
about it, and be like, hey, like, am I out of bounds here? Like, what's going on? Let me get your thoughts. Like, here's what I did.
Yeah.
Was that out of pocket? Like, tell me, like,
Yeah. Get a new
am I out of
perspective.
line? And they're like, well, like, maybe, but I can see where you're coming, and
Yeah.
you're able to ground yourself,
Yeah.
you know. So like, I think there's a lot of that. There's a lot of getting other people's perspectives and advice.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that's frustrating for me though is, there was somebody who a couple months ago was like, well, like, you asked for my advice, but then you never follow it. And it's like, well,
Mm.
look, like, I value it, but it's my life, bro. Like, like, I'm not going to do what you tell me to just because you told me. Like,
Mm.
I appreciate it. It's a factor in my decision,
Yeah. And even if you went to
but like,
them, it's not a guaranteed you'd follow what their advice or
exactly,
opinion.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just important to gather as much information as you can, and that part of that's relying on other people.
But ultimately, like you said, you follow what you feel is best. Like you're trusting yourself.
Yeah, like, I mean, well, at the end of the day, I want to, ride or die based on like what I decided.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's my life. I don't want to look back and be like, dang, if I hadn't listened to so and so,
Mm.
or if
Oh,
I had,
yeah, totally.
it's like, no, like, I screwed up. I made this decision. I'm gonna live with it.
Yeah. I feel like another thing I'm working on and learning is I do tend to ask everyone for their opinion. And I was talking to my little sister, and she's like, I'm just so sick of other people's opinions. She's like, I want to just know what I know and do that. And I was like, oh, that's a good point. Cause usually I err on ask everybody and then I have all this knowledge, but like I'm in this trust myself crisis where I'm like, okay, now what do I do with this information? Like what does it mean to trust my gut and how do I follow intuition and feelings? And yeah, I think it's just something we continue to learn, but I do like that I think I've talked to my therapist about this. Like, instead of asking everyone, maybe I have 3 people, and I can't go more than 3 people when I'm in a situation to go to. And like, therapists are great people to bring situations to, and because we're attached emotionally to all our experiences. And you said something about like you like to try to take out the emotional and make decisions logically. Is that what you were saying?
Well, just like, to not be ruled by
Not
emotion.
be ruled by emotion. Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't want to make an emotion purely off of emotion.
A decision off of emotion.
Decision, yeah,
Yeah.
decision purely off of emotion.
Yeah, that's true. Because when we're more reactive when we're emotional, and
Yeah, and you may not, see it completely clearly,
yeah,
a situation. It's not to say that like I don't ever do that. I do for sure, but like,
we're
I
human.
don't like I'm scared of like doing this.
Mm,
Well, okay, like, why am I scared of it? Is it social rejection? Is it I'm afraid I'm gonna fail? Okay, like, why am I feeling that? Okay,
mm.
let's overcome that, and so we can go out and do this.
Self-awareness. Oh, that spurred another thought I had earlier. The other thought I had forgotten is there's the cool video of I can't remember his name, but the BYU boy who was running the national competition. Did you ever see this video? He was running the steeplechase race and fell and then got back up and he ended up winning. Did you see that video?
Yeah.
It like I literally was like crying in my car watching. I was like, this is the coolest thing. I also love running. So like for me it's just such a cool video. But at the end the lady was interviewing him and he was like, yeah, I had run through that scenario in my head. Like, what if I fell? And then he mentioned some probably runner person and he's like, I just had to channel my inner, this guy's name, you know? And that's something I learned in college. Is just like, it was a lecture once and it was like envisioning yourself already finishing something, like what it looks like. So for my personal like races or marathons, I like walk my mind through it before it even happens. And sometimes it's so funny. I walked myself through a marathon once and I was like, had the random thought of, oh, maybe I'll throw up at the end because I pushed myself or something, you know? And I legitimately threw up at the end. I'm like, that is so funny. I like manifested that in a way. But it's helps so much to just envision that, like walk your mind through it. I mean, with the emotion, but also not letting the emotion control you and then doing it. And I think I could try to relate that to other things in my life, like with relationships, like what does it look like to trust myself and how, and then just start pretending I know what I'm doing already. I don't know. What do you think about that?
You know, I mean, I love visualization. You know, it's a big thing in sports. But you know, I try to manifest things a little different than throwing up personally. Which
Oh no, I
you,
didn't mean to. It just came to my mind and then it happened.
but no, I think that's important because you know then you can go through and you know, yeah, I love that. You know, go through and anticipate what's going to happen, prepare yourself mentally and emotionally, because then that you know when that nervousness, I'm sure like when he tripped and fell, you know, there was a lot of emotions going through, but since he prepared himself, he's able to respond to that.
Yeah.
You know, he's able to overcome those emotions and be like, okay, no, like we're still here. The race isn't over. Let's go. Like, you know, we're just gonna have to pick it up
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. And I think there's just so many metaphors and analogies that I'm like thinking of how that relates to just life in general, you know, stumbling and falling, getting yourself back up, like keeping the end in mind, but like you said, enjoying the moment. I don't know if you said that or if I was just thinking that,
I don't
but
know. It's said now though. It's out
yeah,
there.
cool. Okay, so any last thoughts before we jump to our takeaways of the episode?
No, I'm good.
Thank you for sharing. Sometimes I love the episodes that I'm like, oh my gosh, it's already been 52 minutes. I'm like, there's so many cool
You're
things I've
good.
been learning. So I appreciate
Yeah.
your time. We'll start with you. What's just from our conversation today or something in your life right now? What's an uplifting takeaway that others can take from this?
I just think like the importance of not of living in the moment,
Mm,
not being too hard on yourself. You know, just you know, take each moment as it comes, learn from it, improve from it, and then you know, go from there.
that's how you trust yourself, right?
That's where you get a lot of confidence from. It's where you get a lot of peace from, for
Living,
sure.
yeah, I think living in the moment does bring peace because then I mean, anxiety is worrying about the future, depression's maybe looking into the past, you know, like those are common things people are dealing with. But yeah, the moment, living in the moment does help. I think from our episode today, one thing that's just been impressed on my mind is that trust yourself thing and your takeaway, just remembering those things that go into it and just slowing down. And I'm reminded of this every day and one day I'll master it probably when I'm like 85, but I'll get there. And
There we go.
I'm envisioning it more and more now and grateful to have examples like you and other people in my life that are better at it that I can lean upon and learn from. So I appreciate your time. And you left me a quote. Do you have it memorized or do you want me to read it
You can
to
read
end
it.
with?
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to butcher it. So
Okay. I love ending with a quote just because I am a big quote fan. So it's your place in the world. It's your life. Go on and do all you can with it and make it the life you want to live by Mae Jemison. And I absolutely love that. Create the life you want to live. I mean, we have the power to do whatever we want, right?
yeah, it's your life. Don't let anybody else's opinion, you know, sway it too much.
Yeah. Any thoughts with that quote before we end?
Not just you know, it's your life. You do what you
Yep.
want.
It's pretty self explanatory. Well,
Yeah.
Ethan, thank you so much for your time. I'll leave
No, thanks
like
for having
maybe
me.
your Instagram or something if people want to contact you and ask you more questions. just from
For
your
sure, for sure.
experiences. But everyone have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. See you later.